I'm about to create new heavens and new earth. The former things shall not be remembered or come to mind. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and delight in my people. No more shall the sound of weeping be heard in it, or the cry of distress. No more shall there be in it an infant that lives but a few days, or an old person who's not without a lifetime. They shall build houses and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and eat their fruit. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together. The lion shall eat straw like the ox. They shall not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain. These stirring words from the book of Isaiah imagine the world as it should be. It is a vision of a renewed and redeemed world, a world in which all live full lives of peace, in which the strong do not take away the homes and crops of the less powerful, in which even carnivorous animals seemingly coexist together on a plant-based diet. This vision of the world as it should be came out of a communal experience of suffering. The people of Israel had been conquered and exiled, and finally many of them had returned home. In Cyrus, the Persian ruler who defeated the Babylonians and allowed the Jewish people to return to Israel, in Cyrus, many had seen a messianic figure. And yet, happy as they were to be back home, this seemingly long-expected Messiah had not ushered in a completely new world. Human political power always has its limits, and particularly when a people still live under the rule of a foreign empire. It is in this context of a community restored to its homeland but still lacking self-determination that Isaiah's vision of the peaceable kingdom here in this chapter arises. The holy mountain where none are hurt or destroyed, where all have their own homes, where everyone eats from the fields in which they have toiled, where everyone lives a full life, where the whole animal kingdom lives in peace. This must be how God intended the world to be when the divine breath spoke creation into being. And yet, that is not the world in which we live. In Isaiah's time, in our time, it's not the world in which we live. It is a beautiful world, but the beauty is scarred by so much suffering. Someday, though, the prophet foretells there will be only beauty, only life, a world at peace, a world of justice, a world of love. In today's passage from the Gospel of Luke, we read, while some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, Jesus said, as for these things you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another, all will be thrown down. He says, when you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified. These things must take place first, but the end will not follow immediately. This passage is sometimes called the little apocalypse, as opposed to the bigger apocalypse of John, also called the book of Revelation. Both of these apocalyptic texts contain a lot of scary imagery: wars, famines, plagues, dreadful portents. But an apocalypse is not intended to be a horror story. Indeed, the word apocalypse actually means to uncover or to reveal. When biblical authors write an apocalypse, it means the veil between this world and the realm of God has been pulled back so that we can see a vision of how God intends our world to be. When Jesus says that terrible things must take place first, the end will not follow immediately, he does not mean that this is the end of life on earth, The Greek word here translated as at the end is telos, which means completion, fulfillment, the goal. The telos of which Jesus speaks is not destruction, but a new world. The goal is a world of peace, justice, and love. The church, this church, and the church in every time and place. The church is called to participate in God's great project of creating a world in which peace, justice, and love reign. It is a vision that seems very distant at times, but sometimes we catch a glimpse of it, and it inspires us to move forward and to participate in God's great work. For me, last Sunday, All Saints Sunday, was one such moment, one of those mountaintop experiences in which I get a glimpse of God's world, or the world as it should be, abided with us for a little while. What a joy it was to experience the communion of saints here at Trinity, remembering those who passed on, while also welcoming into the household of God one of our youngest members in baptism. Further enriching the experience were the voices and smiling faces of children singing so beautifully. I sing a song of the saints of God, and then having a chance to spend time with them during the sermon for all ages. The adult choir also took us to the celestial courts with their beautiful anthems as they led us in hymns. And at the back of the church, after the final note of the final hymn, just before the dismissal, you could feel the energy, the joyful energy of the choir and congregation buzzing. It was, as I said, one of those times where we get a glimpse of the world as it should be. The day before All Saints Sunday, Saturday, I dropped by the Trinity Volunteer Day at our Saturday Soup community meal. It was wonderful to see Trinity parishioners, some of you, serving meals and sitting down to fellowship with guests. And I was also privileged myself to get to know several of our guests over lunch. Hearing the stories of people who've experienced difficulties in life is so important. The stories I heard on Saturday were at times both sad and inspiring. After all, to get to the beautiful poetry of Isaiah's vision of a new world, the people of Israel had to endure exile first. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to minister in a church that seeks to serve and to be in solidarity with everyone in our community, to hear their stories and to move forward together into a new vision. This ministry of sharing God's unconditional love is made possible by you, all of you. By your time, your talent, and your treasure. Together, we create the Trinity Church of this present moment, building on the legacy of the saints before us and preparing the way for the saints ahead of us. Now, in the past decade, Trinity experienced some hard times. 10 years ago, we experienced dysfunction and decline as a result of a traumatic leadership conflict. The wounds from that period of our common life are mostly healed, but it has left some scarring. Following that, we had a period of relative stability, but then 2.5 years ago, we and so many slammed into the brick wall of the pandemic. But even so, we pressed onward. We reaffirmed our commitment to be a place where God's unconditional love is practiced. We expanded our community ministries, not only serving food and providing overnight shelter, as important as those things are, but also helping people to find permanent housing and providing them with social work resources so that they can thrive in that housing. We've invited into our spaces new artistic initiatives and new community partners. In our congregational life, we revitalized the music program, And we've now moved all of our children's classrooms and nursery onto the first floor within easy reach of the sanctuary of this nave. We've restarted and repopulated committees vital to running our parish. We've begun live streaming our worship and embraced hybrid models of digital and in-person meetings and classes. We're working toward a more intentional outreach to Spanish speakers. We've started a serious conversation about how to make our physical campus and our worship programs more accessible to people of all abilities. And we've been deepening our connections with one another through fellowship and small group opportunities, like the wonderful gatherings we had in October last month, in which we learned to break bread with one another. Like so many churches, we might sometimes be tempted to look back upon past years as our glory days, but I think we can all agree that here at Trinity Church, our present and our future are very, very bright. The pandemic disrupted many aspects of church and civic life, but it revealed how great the need is for community. And Trinity Church is a vitally needed center of community here in Asbury Park and in our wider Jersey Shore region. People come here to be fed, physically and spiritually, through our social justice programs, our community concerts and art shows, our educational programs, and most importantly, our worship and our church life. That is the core of everything we do. Coming together here and worshiping, coming together to fellowship, coming together to learn and to grow as disciples, seeking to follow Jesus' way of love, to partner with God in creating the world as it should be. Today, we have the opportunity to show our gratitude for all these ministries by sharing our pledges for 2023. In a moment, you're going to be invited forward to offer your pledge of financial support. And then we're going to take those pledges and lay them on the altar, giving thanks for all that God has given us. And so, just once more, I want to thank you for your faithful presence and abundant generosity. I want to thank you for being part of our Trinity community. I want to thank you for breaking bread together. And I want to thank you for sharing in God's vision of a new world, of justice, peace, and love. Together, here at Trinity, and with the church in every time and place, we will partner with God in creating that new world. Amen.